Big names to avoid next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers. I'm here with Adam Azer, and it's appropriate that we're talking about big names to avoid because this weekend around the NFL gave us a couple of names you might want to avoid. The first one being Jonathan Taylor, who officially requested a trade from the Indianapolis Colts after a meeting with team owner Jim Irsay. Apparently, the meeting did not go so well. Some weird quotes from Jim Irsay, but Jonathan Taylor officially demanded a trade, and I don't actually think it's particularly likely he's going to get traded. The Colts don't really have much reason to. He doesn't have much incentive to hold out if he wants to, but clearly that situation has degraded. And given how much that offense is going to have to rely on him, unless Anthony Richardson is just outstanding from day one, that could get pretty ugly in Indy. You know, they don't have a ton of reason to trade him, but keeping him happy seems pretty important if they want to have a chance to compete. Are you worried about Jonathan Taylor in light of this news?
Yeah, and he's still on the PUP list, and it could be because he wants to get traded. But I did see one report that said he's legitimately still on the PUP list.
He had off-season ankle surgery.
Right. I don't think he's a first-round pick anymore. You know, I think he's an early to mid-second-round pick. I'd take Nick Chubb over him. I'd take Tony Pollard over him, Saquon Barkley over him, and then, you know, the three running backs that everybody's taking over him. So to me, he'd probably be about RB7. I do think there's enough reason to worry. You know, what if he gets hurt? Does he just not want to, does he sort of not rush to get back? It's just not a great situation right now. And I had enough concerns about that offense anyway. So I was really flip-flopping between him and Nick Chubb, and this was enough to put Chubb ahead of him. So I'm not super worried, but he's out of the first round.
Taylor's been my RB3, but obviously after this, I am going to move him down just because it injects uncertainty into his profile. There's also some uncertainty about the Seahawks backfield because both Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker suffered injuries over the weekend. Sounds like both are going to miss some time, at least in training camp. Zach Charbonnet with a shoulder injury, Kenneth Walker with a groin injury. And that's concerning. Look, Pete Carroll had some quotes where he called both injuries like little things. The thing about Pete Carroll is he is always going to give you the most optimistic spin on every bit of news coming out of Seahawks camp. That's just who he is. It doesn't mean these injuries are serious, but it's just to say that him saying they're not serious. Let's wait until we get some concrete information. But it sounds like both have a chance to miss time. And look, if Charbonnet was to miss serious time in the regular season, that'd be great news for Kenneth Walker. But unfortunately, with both injured, it makes it hard to know how to handicap this one. And until we get some more concrete information, I don't necessarily want to move on anyone else in Seattle, but just probably got to move both of those guys down. I think Kenny McIntosh was a late round pick for them, has a chance to earn a role here. I think DJ Dallas is still there. So some names to keep an eye on in Seattle. But look, if it's not Walker or Charbonnet, there's a decent chance in Seattle. It might not be anybody. Yeah. Let's move on to some big names that you're avoiding, Adam.
Chris, what is your favorite episode of My Three Sons?
I can't say I have a favorite episode or a least favorite episode of a show that I've never heard of.
Never heard of My Three Sons?
I don't think so.
Okay, I've heard of My Three Sons. It's apparently from 1960.
Okay.
1972.
Interested to see where you're going with this one.
Yeah, this is going to be your favorite episode of My Three Sons. Three players I'm avoiding: Rhamondre Stevenson, Anthony Richardson, and you want to guess?
I got nothing.
TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. All right. I see where you're going with it.
So Rhamondre Stevenson, I guess I have to get a little bit better acquainted with his ADP, but he always goes too early in our drafts. I do not think he should be a second round pick. I think he should be more like a mid to late third round pick. I'm going to take Travis Etienne over him. I'm going to take Chris Olave, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, probably maybe Mark Andrews over him. That'd be close. But that's where I am. I'm going to take three quarterbacks over Rhamondre Stevenson. They're obviously going to bring in a running back. I mean, it's just definitely going to happen.
Yeah, there's been too much smoke there.
Yeah, I don't know how significant that will be. I'm not a huge Stevenson guy. I think the catches are coming way down, maybe more like 40 catches.
I've got a stat for you there.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien, new offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, in his career has never, as a head coach / offensive coordinator, has never been above the league average in target rate for running backs.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Duke Johnson, I think, had a 50-plus catch season. Arian Foster kept getting hurt, but he was getting a lot of targets. But I agree. I just don't think it's going to be as big of a player
They're ranked 29th out of 30th, the Texans, in RB target share during his time. What's the call against TJ Hawkinson? Because you and I talked about Anthony Richardson as a bust like last week, I think.
Hawkinson is the first of the group of 5, the Hawkinson, Pitts, Goddard, Waller, Kittle group. And I'm very content to wait until to get the last one or close to the last one. I don't think Hawkinson really separates himself from that group. He might be, I don't mean this as a slight to him, but he might be the worst receiver in that group. He's going to do the least after the catch. He's the least explosive. He's not a downfield guy. So if the targets go down, he's going to be a bust. So if I get in that group at tight end, I never take the first one. And the first one is typically Hawkinson.
Yeah, the case for Hawkinson is basically just look at the volume last year. You know, he was on like 105 catch pace after getting traded to the Vikings. But I think, you know, if Jordan Addison is ready to step up and be a legitimate number 2, I think that probably changes, because last year Hawkinson entered a team that had an old and declining and not healthy Adam Thielen and a just not that good KJ Osborne. If Jordan Addison can be better than either of those guys, which isn't asking too much, I do think there's a chance that Hawkinson's volume goes down. And like you said, not explosive, not a big play guy, probably not going to be a big red zone threat with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison there. So he's a nice, safe tight end. You know, if you're looking for 12 to 13 points per week, that feels like a pretty safe bet for him, but you're not going to get a huge, 1,100 yard season out of TJ Hawkinson, I would guess, at least. So I agree with you there. And Stevenson's someone that definitely, as draft season has gone, I've soured on him. He was a borderline first round pick when we started the rankings process. Now he's more like a third rounder for me. So I agree with you there. And that's going to do it for FFT and 5. We'll see you tomorrow.